Welcome everybody to Randomjeanc Reviews, Path of Exile. Path of Exile is an online action RPG that borrows elements heavily from Blizzard's Diablo series, specifically Diablo II, which is probably my favorite of the entire series. And the fact that it not only succeeds in mimicking that style of fast action play, addicting loot drops, and dark gothic art style, Path of Exile gives the old school action RPG genre its own unique flavor that is some of the most rewarding and addicting games I have ever played. Seriously, I'm not kidding. This game is part of the reason why my video took so long to make. With a few new expansion, a few weeks away, adding a new act and plenty of new content, now is one of the best times to get into Path of Exile, commonly abbreviated as PoE. Keep in mind that this game has been floating around for a while and has been playable since January 23rd, 2013, when the open beta was released. It was fully released on Steam and on their own website, pathofexile.com, on October 23rd, 2013. This game is one that I have heard of for a while, but I just never checked it out, not until about a month ago. And this game took me by storm and never let me go. Path of Exile, which I would now refer to as PoE, was developed by Randomjeanc Reviews and is currently their only game to be released so far. The developers are based in Auckland, New Zealand. Why did I mention the country of origin? Well, that's partly due to the fact that this game is currently retails for absolutely nothing. That's right, Path of Exile is a free-to-play game, and on top of that, it was a crowdfunded game as well. Now, this game is a magnificent title that was free-to-play done right. I think partly due to the fact that American developers and Japanese developers can be so damn greedy with their free-to-play. I can wholeheartedly say, however, that this is not a pay-to-win. I know that free-to-play is a term usually viewed negatively in the free-to-play genre because most other developers abuse the system to no end. Microtransactions here are done right. Part of the reason the microtransactions were done so well is because the developers were tired of really bad practices in microtransactions. So they developed ethical microtransactions, or what they call ethical, because all their microtransactions are purely cosmetic. All appearances, nothing actually changes their stats, the stats on players, or anything. The only thing that actually changed the gameplay is when you can buy more storage space for your chest, where you can store all your items and weapons. But that hardly changes anything because everyone else gets plenty of storage. I have yet to fill mine up and I have plenty of crap in there too. Grinding gear games leads by example. I'm going to be dead honest. The first time I played this, I ignored the story and the lore. I was just wanting to see at first if the game was worth me investing my time into it. And damn, it sure was. Not only did I play this game for hours and hours on end, I literally made like 5 different characters, many taking plenty of hours to get into the current levels. And the next few times, I did pay attention to the story. What I found was a game rich with lore. Every time you complete a quest or receive one, you can talk to one of the many NPCs throughout the game to tell you about that area or character. There is so much information available to those who want it, and to those who don't, you can just skip right ahead and still love the game. There is extensive lore on the wiki, which will be more than plenty for those who'd want to delve deeper into the lore. To avoid spoilers, I shall whet your curiosity for a bit and let you dip your toe into the world of Fray class. A large totalitarian government called Oriath is ruled by an emperor. The government of Oriath is against the death penalty, even though ironically, exiling the criminals and the guilty kills them anyways, albeit indirectly. You are an exile who escapes death after surviving a wreckage containing other exiles. Just you and another fellow exile survive. Just as the nameless exile begins to collect himself, he's killed by an undead monster. After you defeat Helok, a roaming undead warrior, you enter Lionai's Watch, an abandoned and crumbling fort that is filled with other exiles that have been rooted from their homes and made the fort their makeshift home. From there on out, you aid your fellow exiles and friends you make to ultimately take down Dominus and free the land from the horrors that the Templars instill upon the land. Path of Exile offers a dark and gothic art style that is very appealing and gives a sense of hopelessness in areas that need to do so, and brings moments of peace and beauty when it needs to do so as well, usually after a boss. That feels very rewarding. PoE has some beautiful visuals that offer some stunning lighting, particle, and water effects. The character models could use more detail on some enemies and on the characters you play, but the animations for your spells and abilities are incredibly fluid, as well as for the animations for the enemies. Enemies are very detailed. For example, aquatic characters have a scaly and glossy look to them, blood particles are excellent, and the detail all around is phenomenal. Even more so for this being a free game. The geography for the world is quite varied, with sandy, desolate beaches, beaches, to luscious forests, to catacombs, sandy plains, and so on. This game covers so many diverse landscapes. This is a damn sexy looking game. Considering it was developed in 2013, it still looks very sexy to me. What makes Poe so addicting is partly due to the atmosphere of the game. Path of Exile delivers magnificent sound effects for all actions. Striking enemies is so satisfying and is enhanced with the superb sounds. Arrows fly with an acute sound. Spells like Ice and Thunder give realistic and powerful sounds that make them even more satisfying to use upon your enemies. Bombs, traps, and melee strikes sound excellent, and the attention to detail is fantastic. All the monsters give their own distinct sounds from their respective groups, and the sound design of this game is top-notch, rivaling the level of quality audio design from the Diablo series. I have yet to mention the rich music that varies upon location. From calming tunes to the intense ones for the boss fights, the music in the game perfectly fits with the atmosphere this world has created. Plenty of addicting tunes that can and will overpower you with their addictive qualities. The sound is as great as the visuals, if not better. The game features some excellent voice acting that nails it every time, which to me is the icing on the non-existent cake.
You're here in exile. It may also be the only thing that allows you to see another dawn.
The walls of this old ruin. Lion Eyes watch.
As I mentioned earlier, PoE is very similar to Blizzard's Diablo series. As a top-down action RPG, you have 7 different classes. There are 3 peer classes, essentially a warrior, ranger, and a mage. The rest of the classes are hybrids, and a mix of 2 classes, like the duelist for example, who is a hybrid between a marauder, aka warrior, and a ranger. What sets Path of Exile apart from most action RPGs, however, is the fact that no matter which class you pick, all classes can have the same exact skills available to them in the skill tree. You can do whatever you like with each character, but to truly excel or optimize your character, you must for the most part stick with your class. The reason that you can use pretty much any weapon, and the reason that classes don't make a difference besides the stats that are given at the beginning of the game, is because all skill points in the massive skill tree are passive. That's right, you will never gain a unique skill that is unique to that class. All skill points in this massive skill tree with over 1300 points are passive skills. What does make the biggest difference is selecting your class. What does make the biggest difference in selecting your class, however, where you will begin in this tree. If you are a witch, you will begin near the top. If you're a warrior, near the bottom left. A duelist will be able to start near the bottom. You'd be able to be real close to ranger and marauder skills. As you can see, your character's location is extremely important, as you will gain access to certain skills much faster than anyone else much further away. Every time you level up, you'll gain 1 point. So investing in whatever suits your style is extremely important. You can be a witch that focuses only on summoning minions, or a witch that focuses purely on spells, a ranger that focuses on traps and bow damage, or a ranger that does only purely focus on damage with bows. The freedom you're allowed in this game is incredible. You're able to make your own unique character that nobody else can pretty much create with whatever path you take. It is all up to you, whatever you want your character to be. There are spells in the game, but they are found by questing or by finding them from random drops throughout the game. This is the gem system that is unique to Path of Exile that no other game offers, at least that I found. Gems are the only way to obtain skills for any of the classes. The red gems focus mostly with physical attacks, green are usually for dexterity heavy classes like the ranger, and blue is for mage or intelligence heavy classes. To be able to use a gem, you cannot simply activate it. You must sock into an item. Each piece of armor or weapon you will find will usually have a colored socket. You can only put red gems in red sockets, green and blue in their respective sockets, and so on. Once you do so, you'll gain access to the skill. Don't worry, you can remove and refit any new gems into armor and weapons alike. Nothing is lost when you do so. So a gem to your heart's content. The only downside to the system is that upgrading your weapons and armor can be a real pain in the ass, as colors that are generated for each piece of equipment are random, so finding a powerful item is not enough. Sure, you may find a powerful item, but there's no point if the item does not have the sockets you need or the colors you need. So upgrading to newer equipment is a real struggle. You can colorize and reforge the number of sockets with items, but those items are quite rare and expensive to purchase, that most of the time you won't have that option. You either ditch a lot of the skills that you learned to love, or just have less of them until you get lucky and find an item that has the right number of sockets and the right colors. You can buy equipment and see what it is, but again, that is quite pricey, and unless you get lucky or sell your inventory constantly, which is why I recommend, you won't be able to upgrade. It all depends on your style of play. If you can make it through the whole game with 1 skill, that's perfectly fine. It's all up to you. But if you want to have around 6 skills available to you, then it can be a real pain to get all the right colors and sockets you need. Now, what makes the gems so unique is that you can also combine them for varying effects. Here I am using a ranger skill with my ranger. I shot very quickly. If I want my arrows to arc and split after they hit an enemy, they sure can. If I added a support gem, gems that modify other gems' behavior, usually with bonus stats, the arrow I will fire will now split after hitting an enemy, like so. You can do the same with other skills. gems. You can pretty much modify any time and customize your skills in nearly limitless ways. You only have to make sure that the colored sockets are linked. You can link them yourself, or you can get lucky and find them already linked. Selecting a class is essential as to what gems you will gain early access to. For instance, if you're a witch, after completing the very first quest, you can select a variety of gems that will be specifically tailored to aid magic heavy users. Like the witch or any of her hybrid classes, the witch will get a guaranteed gem for summoning, while a ranger, you will get a ranger specific rewards that sometimes include other colors if the game thinks you might have a use for them. As I mentioned earlier, you can use any gem. As long as you have the necessary mana and armor sockets of the appropriate color, you can use it. Gems do level up with you as well, so having them equipped will let them level up with stronger and more powerful stats that will require more and more mana to level them up. So don't level them up too fast, otherwise if you don't have enough mana, you won't be able to use it at all. Or maybe you only get 3 uses and then it'll completely drain your mana. So it's all up to you. You have to be careful how fast you level them up. Luckily, that almost never happens, and you have the choice to level them up if you wish to do so. Path of Exile is currently split into 3 acts. Each act will take various hours to beat. Even after the 5th time doing Act 1 and trying to rush, and after knowing everything, it still took me around 2 to 3 hours. So while the first time takes considerably longer, I enjoyed exploring everything I could. This game is quite a lengthy one, so there's plenty of fun to be had. I mean, look at me, putting 52 hours pretty much since the first moment I played. I couldn't stop. Each act has a number of varying set quests that are needed to complete the act and advance to the next one. Each act has around 6 to 10 quests, each having a different number of quests. While some acts may have less quests to complete, that doesn't necessarily mean that the chapters with less quests are shorter. It all depends on the quest itself. Some are as easy as clearing up a swamp and killing a fuckbag necromancer who has been raising the dead, to heading to an abandoned prison to kill the brutal warden. Every act has dozens of areas to explore and conquer. Each time you load the game, the section is randomized. You'll almost never play the same map with the same layouts. However, they will contain key defining features required to the area. To progress in the game, you have to complete a linear set of quests that are given to you, usually by an NPC or sometimes by finding an item that hints of an area to explore in order to complete or use that item in some way or form. Many of these found quests are optional, but completing them will reward you with great loot or skill points. Path of Exile is a loot heavy game, and the game is all about loot. If you played Borderlands and the ever mentioned Diablo series, you will know exactly what I am talking about. When killing common enemies, there's a high chance to obtain crappy common items. Killing more powerful enemies, for example champion or special variants of enemies, will generally offer a much higher chance to drop magic or rarer items. For example, yellow or epic loot, and usually the rarer an item is, the more powerful it is. The loot drops is one way Poe makes you get addicted, and it won't let you go for countless of hours. I am living proof of that. Oh, and once you beat the 3rd act, it's not over. There are cruel and merciless difficulties so that you can gain even better gear and continue playing for countless hours on end. So the party doesn't even stop there. Speaking of party, you can party up with a buddy or up to 6 players. Each additional member will make the drops for monsters more rare and increases the difficulty of monsters accordingly per player. The game is a multiplayer action RPG, but don't worry, when you go out there into the areas, you won't ever run into other players who will try to steal your loot. The only way you interact with other players if they're in town or you are partied up with somebody. I wish there was a system similar to Diablo 3, however, that once you're partied up with a group, every party member will have unique loot dropped for each player, so that no one will be able to hoard them all for their own, and this way it would encourage strangers to party up with other strangers. You can trade with other players or duel them in a PvP arena. I wish the PvP was a little bit better, because a lot of times it's a range of, let's say, level 1 to 28. Once you're level 29, however, you'll be able to play someone who's like level 80, and then you'll get owned. Such as me, who, when I was using my character, I got owned because the other character was such an asshole and because they were much higher level than me. But that's okay, it was still fun. You can chat with anyone, whisper with anyone, visit people's hideouts, which is a place where you can basically gather NPCs in-game. If you earn them, they'll sell you unique equipment and give you items that can modify your stats, modify your item stats at the cost of money, and so on. The community is quite nice. I wish I could have recorded the time I wanted to trade for some items, and this dude online gave me a bunch of epic loot for no reason other than because he wanted to give it to me. It was amazing. As you may have been able to tell, obviously I love this game, and it is one of the most addictive and engrossing games I have ever played. How can I not love the fact this game is free to play done right? So right, in fact, that I would have been willing to pay $20 to $30 for this game and still love it. The fact that the only thing money can buy you in this game is cosmetic effects and not actual benefits that will make you more powerful than the rest is a powerful testament of how incredible the developers are. They believed in ethical microtransactions, noting that using them is only for those who wish to support the developers and give them back something in return. I mean, running servers 24/7 worldwide is not cheap, so they have to make money somehow, and the fact that they are constantly expanding Path of Exile with free massive overhauls, such as the Act 4 expansion for free, just proves how incredible this team really is. Path of Exile is a magnificent game that offers a unique and addicting gem skill system that is truly marvelous and that encourages you to combine abilities for incredible and fun combinations. A massive skill tree that ensures you can become whatever you truly wish to be, whether it is a pure ranger, a witch with summoner build. The possibilities are nearly endless. I never experienced a problem with the always online system, and the graphics, audio, and smoothness of play is something to be amazed. The minor setbacks of upgrading gear, recoloring, and renumbering a number of sockets is so minuscule compared to all the good the game offers, it barely manages to weigh in anything in my rating scale. Path of Exile challenges and pushes what the envelope should be to a whole nother level, being a perfect example of how to do microtransactions ethically. Not to mention, Grinding Gear games also offer weekly challenges, daily challenges, and monthly tournaments for loot and XP. The developers are so involved with the community and they listen to you. With hundreds of hours of potential play, addictive loot, beautiful graphics, satisfying gameplay, I declare Path of Exile an epic game. My highest and first ever perfect score. You can think of it as a 10 out of 10. I don't even care if people disagree. I wholeheartedly believe this game is essentially a true testament of a marvelous, incredible game. Our fellow Steam players and most other critics agree this game is a gem of a game. No pun intended. Woo! That was long, and thank you all for sticking with me. I will provide a link with the Steam page and the webpage for all of those of you who are interested in playing. And please feel free to disagree or agree with me and tell me why. I love feedback more than anything, and if you like this or any of my videos, click that thumbs up. It helps my videos grow. And if you like this and this is first time, then click here to subscribe. Now, here are my other videos, and thank you all for supporting me and sticking with me. The next video is already floating in my mind, so stay tuned, peeps. This is Randomjeanc signing off.